Hi, everyone. This is Lead with Who You Are. I'm Dia Bondi, and on this show, we explore and discover what it truly means to lead with who you are, and we're doing it with people who embody just that. In this episode today, we're talking with Cristina Jones about action leadership and your obligation as a leader at any level to make room for others and other voices. Now, Cristina Jones is a woman who absolutely knows who she is, and she gives us all permission to connect who we are with the work we do. Let's get into it. Hey, just a quick reminder. You can subscribe to this show on your podcast platform of choice. We're live nearly everywhere, and you can always listen to the show at diabondi.com. If there's a leader or innovator in your life who is at their shiniest when they lead with who they truly are, please share the show with them and rate, subscribe, and leave us a review. It makes a huge difference in the reach that the show has when you let everyone else know what you love about the show. Thanks so much. So Cristina is an intentional storyteller with a focus on action, impact, and culture. And as Chief Engagement Officer at Salesforce.org, Cristina and her team use world-class storytelling to reach new audiences and spotlight Salesforce.org as the technology platform built to power purpose. She believes that when people and communities thrive, business thrives. And her team integrates customer advocacy, media partnerships, and influencer strategies to build lasting relationships. In 2020, Cristina was named to the Ebony Power 100 and was featured in the World Woman Foundation's She's My Hero campaign. Cristina, welcome. Hi, Cristina.
Hi.
It's so nice to see/hear you. I mean, I'm seeing you. Folks listening will be hearing you, but I'm so glad to have you on Lead with Who You Are. Thank you so much for spending time with us today.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
So, I have to say, when I sent the note out to say, like, hey, would you come be on the show? And you said yes. I was like fist pump moment. You and I met not too long ago and had a chance to do some collaborating, and I just thought that you would be such a fabulous contribution to this conversation around what it means to lead with who we are, And I just want to start by we've set up your intro and your bio, but I want to still ask this really sort of fundamental question, which is, how might you answer the question, who are you?
That's a layered question, isn't it? Because I like to think that I'm still a work in progress. I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a daughter, I'm a friend, I'm a gardener, I'm a mini farmer, but I'm also a culture creator. I love culture and how it creates seismic shifts in our diverse world. I like to think of myself as a brand steward. But if you look at my LinkedIn, it's going to tell you that I'm the Chief Engagement Officer at Salesforce.org. And my focus really is being on an intentional storyteller. I like to use my abundance of resources in my work life to create opportunities that inspire action leadership, not just across my organization, but out in the world. I try to be intentional in greenlighting programs, partnerships, content that spotlight the challenges that I know tech and collaboration can solve, like, workforce development, climate change, health. But I also like to use my platform to ensure that I'm sponsoring other people in my orbit so that they too can find success in their careers and transform into action leaders themselves.
What I love about how you answered this question, and also how I experience you as a leader from the moment that we met, the first time we were on a call together, was that notion of being intentional, and also how elegantly you bridge your own story and values and the work, the job of the work that you do every day, no matter what you're engaging with. So how do you it seems so easily, bridge your own voice and the voice of the organization that you work with?
Thank you, Dia. I think first I have to say that the first time we met, I was like, we're going to be friends. So
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever answered yes to doing anything as quickly as I have when you reached out about joining you in this conversation.
Oh, I'll take that as a compliment. Thank you so much.
Well, because when I think you lead with your values and your beliefs as well, and I don't think that people understand that they can. It took me a while to find my voice, but when I did, there was no turning back. And so I do believe that it is imperative. It's an imperative that you first understand who you are. It helps define your life, not just your career. We spend so much time at work. Why not work on things that we're passionate about? I do work in technology, but even before I was in .org, I was creating platforms to create space for people to talk about the change, but not just talk about the change, but to spotlight people who are talking about the change and doing. That's my passion. My passion is shining a light on action leaders whose focus is on making the world a better place. I love stories. I'm a storyteller myself. I like to tell stories that drive change. There's so much bad news out in the world. Can we create space to tell some good stories? I recently had the honor of connecting with women and girls at a girls leadership gala. And that gala was focused on finding the power and using your voice. And I'm going to share their definition with you. I know you're going to love it. Leadership is making others and situations better as a result of your presence and making that impact last in your absence. This work can begin at any age and doesn't require a title or a role. I mean, right?
Yeah, it's beautiful. And I want to get on to talking about this notion of action leadership. But before I do, I want to go back to what you said a minute ago. That is absolutely beautiful. And you said something, I'm forgetting the words exactly right now, but once you find your voice,
Yes.
you can't go back.
No.
And, I find that with the leaders that I work with, I work with professional CEOs as well as VC-backed founders who are CEOing for the very first time, and not necessarily because they ascended, but because they put a stake in the ground around building something, and they're learning how to CEO while they're doing it. They're learning, and there is an incredible power in there's like this thing where finding your voice is about, I notice, is about the content, being clear about what your values and action look like, developing your own point of view, understanding your platform. But there's an actual experience of touching your own voice, experiencing your own voice in a way that's so aligned to who you are, that is such an overwhelming. I literally watch leaders find it or hear it kind of for the first time, and it's such an compelling experience for them. They can't go back. Now it is the way in which the aspiration for everything, for every way in which they use their voice. So it's always a stretch to try to get back to that and stay aligned with that experience of like, oh, there I am.
I'm getting chills as you're talking about it, because that is the crux of it. It is the moment that you understand that not only do you have something to say, when you realize that someone wants to hear it.
I don't know if you experience this in your own leadership journey or as you've mentored other leaders in this space, but there's also something about there's a moment where it's like they touch it and they almost want to back away from it, even though it's exciting and thrilling because it's so powerful and compelling. The question isn't like, can you speak that? It's, can you tolerate your own power when you found it? There's like this, you're nodding your head. Folks can't see, but
Sorry,
you're nodding your head.
I'm
What's the nod?
like
Yeah, it's great.
I'm sitting here like that is accurate, and it is powerful, and it's necessary, especially if you're going to lead people. You have to lead. I almost don't want to use the word authentically, but you have to lead authentically, not in the way that you read someone else leads, but in the way that is authentic to who you are as a person. Why are you in this role? Why did you start this company? What problem were you trying to solve? What in your past put you on this path to understanding that there was a problem that needed to solve, that you saw an opportunity to fix? Like, I think, for me, it's storytelling. For technologists, it's building new technology. For entrepreneurs, like, what is the thing? But it's not just about the thing that you make. I talk to my teams about this a lot. It's the why.
Yes. And I find that it's what you bring to it.
Yep. Yep.
What is it that you're bringing to the thing that you're doing? I talk to folks all the time and I'm like, okay, great. So you're this C fill in the blank, but like I get your job description, but are you the culture guy? Are you the data woman? Are you the person who is, a champion for, are you the collaboration nerd? Like, what is the thing that you are bringing to the challenge that will help unlock the potential in solving that problem? Now, we're kind of leaning into the world of like doing. So I want to move into this question of like, you've used already in our conversation this term action leadership. Can you help me instead of thought leadership, which is a like nomenclature we're very familiar with in our in sort of the business community now. Can you talk a little bit about this term action leadership and where it came from and sort of how you came to naming and claiming that?
Yes, absolutely. I think that we can all agree that we are tired of thought leadership. I am exhausted by it. I don't want to hear, especially with what's going on in the world right now, I don't want to hear it anymore. I don't want to hear about people talking about the things that we should be doing different. I don't want to talk about the change that needs to happen in the world. I don't want to talk about what's happening in climate. I want to hear from people who are driving the change that needs to happen. We all know after countless years of hearing about we need to be better about a myriad of things, equality, climate, global health, gun control. But who is actually doing something to drive the change? I'm tired of people sending up prayers. I want people to do something. We all have the opportunity to do something. If you are working, if you are not working, you can join a group that is doing this. You don't have to just sit back, put your head in the sand and go like, well, it just is what it is, because that's not going to get us to where we need to go.
So recognizing action leadership, standing next to or, cuddling up to storytelling. One is the doing and one is the demonstrating or talking about the doing. So how does one think about storytelling and putting together storytelling and action? In the storytelling, are you asking us to spend time pointing and elevating the actions that are happening instead of just lecturing the world?
Correct. If you have a phone or access to social media, you are a content creator. If you are a content creator, you are a culture creator. Be intentional with the words that you say. Be intentional with the people that you use your platform to highlight. If you're in marketing and you're creating content, why would you focus on negativity? Why not focus? Choose to use your platform for good. I really have a problem when people have an opportunity to like use their platforms to shine light on positivity and change. And instead they use it for like, at the worst, shining a light on negativity. We don't need any more of that. At the mediocre, it's just using it as the playbook of like, I need to say this, check this, check that, without driving change. Storytelling is how we've been sharing our history since we were sitting around fires talking. Like, let's use it to create community and change. I am maniacal about focusing on what stories that we tell and how we express them, because there's one other piece. You need to be careful when you have these storytelling platforms about how you represent people as well.
So speaking, you just sort of touched on this idea of being a content creator. So, you've talked about that all marketing and brand leaders should really see or can see themselves, and maybe even must see themselves
Yes.
as content creators.
Yes.
So talk about what that means. And you just started to, but help me understand what that really means.
Let's start with the fact that when you're telling a story of communities, maybe that don't look like you, be mindful of the way that you tell that story. A quick solve for that is to make sure that you have an inclusive team, right? So that you don't step in it. Cancel culture is real. unfortunately, I don't love cancel culture. It prevents space for people to grow. It also prevents people from having real conversations where you understand what they're actually thinking so that maybe you can change a mindset. But moving away from that, I think that you need to be intentional in the way that you tell a story. Technology is not saving Black people. Black people are saving themselves by understanding how to leverage technology.
Wow, that really shifts.
Right.
Like that's a shift of where the locus of control is or where the power is.
Exactly. At the end of every tool is a human. Can we lean into the human story? Technology can be an accelerator. I work at, Salesforce.org. We create purpose-built products that our communities, our customers who are all action leaders trying to solve the world's biggest problems use, but our customers are the action leaders, not our technology. And so just reframing that.
So if we use the definition you shared earlier around leadership for the Women and Girls event that you attended earlier this month, and we think about people who are not maybe ordained leaders, don't have the title or the decision-making power directly, but have the opportunity to have an impact around a table when a story is being crafted, when a story is being assembled, when a story is being, born. How do folks... So this wasn't a question I was planning on asking, but how does a person where does someone start? When do they start thinking themselves as content creators, even if their name isn't on the credits? Is that a goofy question?
No, it's not a goofy question. You're going to tap into my other passion point. I believe that when you end up having a seat at the table, I'm going to say something a little controversial, but you already know me. So
yes, Hurricane.
Yes. Hey, earthquake. So Shirley Chisholm would no longer be satisfied with a folding chair, right? I believe that when you are offered a seat at the table, you need to make sure it's a real seat at the table. And when you do that, you need to be mindful and ensure that you are pulling up a whole bunch more seats at the table. When people don't do that, it is generally coming from a scarcity mindset. It means I made it to this table and I'm the only voice that matters and no one else can be at this table. When you come from an abundance mindset, it means that the more chairs that you pull up, the more opportunity you're creating, the more voices that you're hearing from. And so I go around, I'm hyper focused on making sure that the teams that I work with all have career growth and understand the path to success for them in their specific career. But I also don't really care what their title is when I'm asking for advice or inputs or thoughts. I love brainstorming. In technology, it's taken a while for my teams to somewhat understand what brainstorming is because they go straight to action sometimes. But sometimes it's okay.
And everyone listening, this is from the action leadership lady, just saying, she's like, yes. It's not all about action all the time. There's a moment for something else.
Active listening. Active listening.
Yes.
It means that you don't, pull up a whiteboard just so that people can listen to you talk and all agree and tell you that you're amazing. It means that you pull up a whiteboard and you hear from everyone and you're vulnerable enough and create space for people to have an authentic conversation and disagree with you. The first idea is very rarely the best idea, as you know.
Well, I hear that also as I'm imagining, a room where there's walls and walls of whiteboards and a full round table with people from early career to senior leadership, who are who have their names on the jobs, right? That what that also means, if you see yourself early in your career, early in your leadership as a contributor and as a content creator, even if it's not you creating content in a silo and away from everybody, but as a contributor to the stories that are being told, that you have a responsibility, or I don't know if it's a responsibility. I'm curious if that's how you see it, to share your perspective as a way to round out and make more complete the story that your team is telling.
Yes. Like, I mean, that we, sorry, I'm like, I'm using my hands. That's the Italian in me. I'm emoting.
Yeah, yeah.
This is my favorite. Like, the best stories are the stories that are told together. The best stories are stories that come from, having, again, an inclusive team. There was some poor critic said something crazy about turning red. And shame on him for saying that, that beautiful animated film was too narrow and restrictive and people didn't get it. But I wonder if that story would have made it all the way through to posting if he surrounded himself with more people that don't look like himself. Coming from media, I can tell you that the best stories that travel are the global stories. And I think that, when you start with storytelling, it starts with, am I serving the audience that I want to reach? Am I serving the business need? But also, am I inspiring others? Am I inspiring others? Am I creating space for others? And if you're talking about someone that doesn't look like you, Dia, are you telling a story in a way that you would feel proud to be represented?
So we talked about, action leadership. We talked a little bit about, this idea of what it means to take on the responsibility or to see yourself as a content creator. And, I talk a lot in my work about, speaking courageously and what it means to speak courageously in a way that is aligned to who you actually are. And it is not an invitation to be reckless, destructive, confessional even.
Yep.
It is not a, well, I'm just being honest moment. So how do we think about, young leaders that are on their pathway to growing their impact and reach, how do we think about, folks who are already in a position to have huge impact and reach with their voices, that has a lot of sway, either because of their, their just explicit role that they're in, and what comes with that, or, whether they have a compelled following or not. How do we think about speaking courageously without being reckless?
I think that when people speak out of anger, it comes from having their voice suppressed for a really long time. It's that passive aggressive thing. As you know, I'm very passionate about quite a few topics, and I'm not afraid to use my voice when something is wrong. But, I have put in the time and have the receipts to show like how I got there. But I think that we're moving, but that's kind of, as I'm saying it, like some old school mentality, right? I think that anyone who has a voice or an opinion should be able to voice it and be heard. Um, I welcome and encourage debate. That's how we get better and we all grow. Like I said at the top of this, I'm still a work in progress myself. I don't have all the answers. I surround myself with very smart people, both on my team, my friends, the new friends that I engage with. Stay curious, but arguing comes from when I think that you get so enraged, it comes out with rage. And when you're yelling, people turn off. And so if you're trying to get something across, staying calm, um, and I hate to say this, but taking the emotion out of it, because I'm a Black woman. And so, I've had supervisors in the past who use passion as a negative.
Mm.
And when you're Black in corporate or anywhere, you run the risk of being an angry Black woman. And that's just a fallacy. Some people can say something and it can be received in a way, and other people receive it in a different way. Again, I encourage people to get outside of their silos and connect with other people so that we can get rid of that. But you need to really be in, like, what is upsetting you, and then come back with a solution, because just raging at the machine without a solution does not solve anything.
And does that bring us back to action leadership?
Correct. It always brings us back to action leadership.
Close the loop. So can we just stay on this point a little bit around, you know, de-charging something that's really important, so that I heard you say, so that you're not labeled as the angry Black woman.
Correct.
Does that mean that your experience is that you cannot have rage? Or does it mean that you have to express rage in a very particular way? Does it get to be present? Do you get to be mad?
I definitely get to be mad. And at some point, because Dia, you know me, I'm very joyful, but some things make me angry. And when things make me angry, I reserve the right to express myself. And if you want to have the skills and tools that I bring to the job every day, then you need to create space for that. I'm never disrespectful. I'm never, irate. I'm not a screamer, but I am direct in the things that bother me. Especially because in the space that I'm in, I want to make sure that I'm not creating space. I'm not going to cuss for not.
You can.
I'm not going to create space for bullshit. I'm not going to create space for people to leverage the platforms that are out there to give permission to people to be assholes.
I hear this interesting tension around letting ourselves, and you saying, yes, I'm allowed to be mad and I can get mad, but how do I do that in a way? How do I show up in a way that lets that be present without destroying something?
You need to create space for conversation. And the conversation doesn't end until you both either agree or agree to disagree, but there needs to be a conversation. You need to get I'm a builder of things. I like to launch new areas, grow. You need to be comfortable with conflict in those spaces, right? But you need to be okay with if someone says no, and you know that that's wrong, you need to feel comfortable enough to go back respectfully.
I hear so much skillfulness in this. And as we kind of come to the close of our conversation, I'm thinking about if folks are listening to this, again, I'm going to go back to this early in their careers sort of state, folks who are aspiring to be in the role that you are in, Cristina, women and other leaders looking to be in a place where they can have massive reach and massive impact. If you were to name what skills, this sounds very transactional, maybe it is, but you're talking about this in a way with a certain level of skillfulness and sophistication. What are the 2 or 3 skills that leaders early in their careers can go get that helps them speak courageously without being reckless?
I think that you need to be informed about the topics that you care about, like become a master of your space. And you do that by, being a lifelong learner. I know that sounds trite, but you don't just graduate from college and start working and that's it. I think that you start building a community, like have these conversations, not just in your head, but amongst your friends, and find someone that you respect. And, I think mentorship, sponsorship, those are 2 very different things. A mentor is someone who helps you understand how to have the courageous conversations. A sponsor is the person in the room who understands what it is that you are trying to accomplish and, puts their neck out there so that you can get that opportunity. Get yourself a mentor early. And mentors don't always have to be up.
Yes.
They can be lateral. I'm still learning. I learn from people on my own teams. Like, you know what I mean? It doesn't.
Yeah, Dr. Stacey Blake Beard talks about reverse mentorship even.
Yes.
Like generationally the other way. So I might be, as I am, scraping at 50 and finding mentors who are in their 20s that can help me, as you say, become a master in my domain.
Exactly. And everybody, it's like if you're a woman, you don't only need a woman mentor. If you're a man, you don't only need a man. If you're Black, it doesn't have, just find the person who is doing the work that you respect and connect with them.
So I hear your answers around what skills do we need to get to be able to be later, be able to have the capacity to speak courageously without being reckless. I heard you say these are more like pursuits to become a master in your own space. And I hear curiosity in there and sort of insatiable learning to gather a community, to invest in community around you, and to find the mentors and sponsors that will help you be smart and maybe grow into your potential.
1000%. And as you advance in your career, make sure that you pull up those chairs so that you're not the only one in the room.
Cristina, what does it mean to you, in a few sentences, to lead with who you are?
I think I have been myself for so long. It took me a while to understand that it was okay to be who I was, but also that I did not only have to be one thing. I didn't have to be something that I was not in order to become a leader. The only way I know how to be is to be Cristina. I don't know how to be any other way anymore. And what I hope is that I'm not the only one like that. I hope that I create space so that the people that I work with feel the same way, that they can be just authentically themselves, not leaving pieces of themselves at home, but like come to work and feel joyful because they're doing meaningful work that my friend Emma calls it soul work. There's space for that, and there's space to be yourself.
Cristina, thank you so much for being with us on Lead With Who You Are. It's just I am so compelled by you.
Thank you.
And I hope our listeners are compelled as well. Where can folks find you and find your work?
On my LinkedIn page, Cristina Jones. On my Twitter handle, Cristina M. Jones. On your podcast.
Fantastic.
Thank you for inviting me. It's been a joy, as always, to talk to you, Dia.
Love it. See you around, Hurricanes. Lead With Who You Are is a production of Dia Bondi Communications. Scored, mixed, and produced by Arthur Leon Adams III. And executive produced by Mandy Miranda. You can reach out to us at hello@diabondi.com or leave us a voicemail at 341-333-2997. You can like, rate, share, and subscribe at Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Go to diabondi.com for show notes and to learn about all it is that we do to help you speak powerfully and lead with who you are.